How's everybody doing today? All right, good. We, I think that having a chance to look at it a little bit closer, a lot of times in this game, especially when it's really competitive, a lot of your battles are not really against the competition to some degree. We've got a group here that I think is totally committed to the cause. It's a coachable group. I think we've got a group of players that are really intentional about trying to be great teammates and do their best at their role relative to the team. And I think when you're totally committed to a cause, when you get into battle and there is adversity, I think that's reflected. And one thing I can say about our team that impressed me was that although we got down 14-0 in that game and there were a lot of ups and downs, they continued to stick together in battle. I think listening to our accountability group earlier today, we're still chasing that complete game. I think we're still looking for all parts of our team to play at the high level that they have played at times. And I think ultimately that's the focus here down the stretch. It's important that we keep an attitude, a mindset, trying to be, I think teachability in particular is an attitude, it's a mindset, and I think that no matter how much you know or think you know, you got to make sure that you can learn from every single situation. And I think we've been through some experiences. It's important that if we can keep this mindset, then we can take adversity and turn it into our advantage. And I think for our team in particular, we have to create that attitude and that mindset towards some of the things that we've been through. So I do think that after being around our team yesterday and listening to some of our key leaders, I do think that this group is in a good place. I know that may be hard for other people to understand, but we have a group that I respect, and I think they respect each other. We can do things better, there's no question. There's a dozen plays in this game that we just played. If we just get 6 of them right, we'd probably come out on the other side of that thing. So, much like I said after the game, one of the great things about this game is it requires hard work, sacrifice, investment, courage to go to the stadium every week and put yourself out there. There's no guarantee of the result that you want, and that requires some courage to do. I also think there's good days and bad days. We've been on the other side of a game like that in the past, and that's what makes it a special game. So, our team has turned the page. We play LSU in Baton Rouge. Death Valley's obviously one of the better venues in all of college sports. Haven't played there a couple different times. And as a competitor, and I think for our players, it's a challenge that you look forward to and a memory and an experience that you sign up for. And I think LSU's got a terrific football team, loaded with offensive skill. The quarterback's dynamic, not only as a passer, but his ability to run. And then you look at the defense, they continue to get better. I think about 4 or 5 weeks ago, they made some changes, and I think that's helped them. And obviously, Coach Kelly's a heck of a football coach and has had, significant success along the way. So, ton of respect. I think the approach with the players, I think practice, the preparation, we're still searching that complete game, and ultimately that's what the focus will be on, and it's going to require that. What questions we got?
You often use the term everyone in the building. I'm curious about your staff and your analysts in year 2, how you would evaluate their output and their performance in helping, the on-field product on Saturdays.
Yeah, I think much like everything we do, I think there's some good and some bad. I think we adjust each year. I think when the season's over, you go back, you quality control. Sometimes mid-season, even in the off season, I think you having idea of where you're going to make adjustments relative to what's required to get us where we want to go, right? So, yeah, I mean, I think all those things are end-of-year approaches. Now's not the time to do that. I mean, you may be taking notes along the way, but I think from a process standpoint, we try to continue to get better. You know, part of your job as a leader is to coach the people that work for you to some degree, right? Areas where we can get better at our process. And I think we've done that for the most part since we've been here. So, you know, all changes and how you evolve your infrastructure, your workflows, I think all those things are typically done when the year's over.
As far as the fans are concerned, I mean, they express some disappointment at times during the game. I don't know if you hear it or you get caught up, but what would your message to the fan base be at this point?
What are you talking about specifically?
Just about the performance and where you guys are as a program. What would your message be to the fan base? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we handed it off on like 3rd and 13 with the backup quarterback. We got some boos for that, you know. I think the national averages, you know, for 3rd and 13 are like under 15% or something like that. Not to mention a guy that was sitting over there with his helmet in his hand, you know, 30 seconds ago runs out there on the short side of the field. So I think that was the right decision for the team.
The substitution infraction late in regulation, you said you were going to dig in and maybe get some answers on that. What did you find out, and how can you improve that process moving forward?
Yeah, no, I think ultimately we made a mistake there. And every part of our organization is ultimately my responsibility. So, you know, I think it's something that we can do better, and it's my job to get it done better.
You made it sound like a player is in charge of, or at least vocalizing. Is that a misspoke? Like, is it coaches, analysts? Like, who's actually responsible for getting that, calling out the, whatever the call is, to get the kicking unit on the field?
Yeah, no, it's not a player's decision, okay? For anyone to equate that or write that or think that, I think would be inaccurate. Ultimately, a player, one of the players is in charge of that unit, right? Much like the quarterback, when the offense takes the field, he calls the play and says the cadence, and we take the field. So, no, that's always a coaching decision.
Consistency's been a real problem. How do you coach consistency, or is that just something that has to come with experience?
You know, I talked to the team a little bit yesterday. I think when you study elite teams, right, the teams that have had significant success, right, one of the things that is a common factor is continuity. You know, teams that have played together, players that have played together, and ultimately, you know, parts of our team have that element, okay, but I don't think that we have a veteran team. You know, I think we're gaining valuable experience as we speak. So consistency is one of the things that we're seeking. You're 100% right, and I just said it earlier. I mean, I think if we could take the best performances of some of the position groups, some of the units, and put all those together, you know, that's what we're trying to get accomplished, right? So, you know, this point in the year, your depth becomes important as you get a handful of players banged up. We had some players that were playing Saturday that this was their first significant experience in their career. So continuity is important, you know, and I think a veteran team, ultimately, I think that allows you to have an elite team and a team that can play with consistency.
Is that the answer to maybe a couple of the areas that are struggling, whether it's the O-line, some breakdowns in the secondary, is it consistency? I mean, obviously the performance probably needs to elevate a little bit. I mean, what are the solutions, I guess, at areas like those?
You know, I thought, you know, offensively in the game, I thought that we're just a little bit off, you know, the attention to detail. I thought, in particular, 3rd and medium is the area where I'd like to have a few back in terms of decision-making, screen execution, protection, you know. I thought we had about 5 or 6 plays that were in that 3rd and medium range that ultimately could have been a difference maker. You know, you look up, you do a couple of those right, you score 50 points. You know, you make it a non-factor. So, you know, we gave them 7. you know. I think defensively we need to clean up. We had quite a few mental errors in the game. It's been a long time since that was the case. And then I thought we didn't tackle well. And look, you know, I think their personnel contributes to that a little bit as well. So offensively, a little more detail, a few more throws you'd like to have back, and then I think some decisions. But overall, we're close. You know, look, nobody wants to talk about special teams, but if you take away a PAT and a field goal, we're probably sitting here saying that's the best performance of the year. You know, if you just evaluate the four core, you know, I thought we did a nice job. You know, we created some significant returns in the game. We covered kicks. So we are getting better in the return game. I think we're doing a good job. We're winning more one-on-ones. And we've got some returnable kicks. I think we control the vertical field position in the game.
Progress, and it's not shown up in the win and loss column as much as you'd like. What is kind of the message to keep everyone engaged? And you say everyone is, but you know it can get frustrating for some people, and that's always a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, you got to remain process oriented, independent of the result. You know, it's easy to do when you win, right? I mean, but it's hard to do that and keep perspective when you lose, right? So trying to remain objective. And look, you know, I go back to no one's more educated or more informed than the players and the staff. You know, I mean, I think, you know, that's important for everybody to understand. You know, and no one cares. No one's more committed or worked harder or invested more time or effort or energy than that crew, right? So I observe them every day, and I think it's going to benefit us in the end.
Talking a second ago about special teams, another field goal with only 10 guys on the field. How does that keep happening?
What play are you talking about specifically?
Field goal block.
Arkansas's 37-yard field goal in the second quarter.
So our field goal block team is what you're saying. Yeah. So we had a player injured on the possession, the play right before, and ultimately that's what contributed to that. The backup wasn't quite on the same page, and that's what happened.
One of those has an individual explanation, but I think what frustrates fans, I mean, we're getting it, and you're hearing it, I'm sure, is why these things keep happening, you know,
Right.
9 games into the season.
Right.
And what, like, when somebody says, what the hell's going on? What do we tell them?
Right. Well, I think look, we can do it better, you know. It's pretty simple, you know. Get 11 out there. Pretty simple.
One more question. How much are you following that situation? How could it affect your preparation going against potentially 2 quarterbacks?
No, I think Nussmeier obviously has been a very productive player as well. You know, I think if you really dig into the tape, when he's been given opportunities, he's done a nice job moving their team. So, you know, I think we'll prepare for both. They're definitely different players, but they're both very capable. And I think ultimately they do a nice job distributing the ball to the skill they have. You know, this group of receivers, the backs, the tight end, and I think the offensive line, you know, they're one of the best offenses, if not the best offense in the entire country at this point. So appreciate the question about LSU.